Hello, everyone, and welcome to this small little stream, hopefully, about creating a game about a cube. So, in this challenge, we will create a cube based game. I've got some stuff set up, basically, a character and a trigger. They are very basic. And let me show you the test level. So in this stream, just I wanted to share my game design process, and if somebody likes it, maybe we can do some more detailed streams. But for now, it is what it is. So we have this little game, little cube, animated, of course, procedurally animated, and we have on top of this we have a toon shader setup and some interactive items here, as you can see. So the goal is to sort of navigate the level and collect all of these coins. And when you collect all of them, you will be faded into the next level. Currently, we have only one level, so let's get level designing done. So where do we start from? The first thing I want to do is kind of sort of copying this, creating a template level. So I'll copy this one, the post-process material for the shaders, and bring it over to the first level. And we have an instant toon shader applied. It looks great. Now, what do we want to add? We want a way to respawn the player. Currently, the player can step. This is meant to be water, this blue tile, but if we play it currently, the player can just step onto it and nothing happens, and we do not want to allow this. So I want to introduce water as a kind of kill zone, or kill like a trap, or a kill zone more precisely. So how do we do this? The first thing we want to do is add a kill zone to here. Kill Z volume, I guess, or damage causer. Hmm. I think it was called damage. No. Hurt? No. I do believe it existed somewhere. Maybe in volumes, audio, blocking, camera, color, recall, pain causing the yes, this pain causing volume, and we need to set it up to sort of encapsulate or kind of make a circumference around this area. Let's go to top view. Voltage. Okay, where are we? Why is this happening? Anyway, so we need something like this, and maybe like this. And then we want to bring sort of this over, and we want to maybe just toggle this off, bring this a little bit down, something like this. And now this should inflict damage whenever the player is within their volume. We might need to do some setups. So pain causing, yes, the damage per second, damage type set to environmental, pain interval, entry pain. So yeah, I guess this is enough. So I guess this is more than enough. But we have no way to tell if a damage was caused. So let's go and add that to our character. So the way I think about this is that I want to make the player dies whenever they receive any sort of damage. And when they die, we need to set up the game mode so that it respawns them appropriately on I think it was called any damage, yes, this one. So for now we will just display a message, hello, maybe. So let's go ahead and test this. If we jump, we receive absolutely nothing. That is because something is wrong, or we did not set up some stuff correctly. Maybe if we took this a little bit higher. Yes, so now. So I think it was just an error with the collision. So now we have the player receiving that damage event. The next thing we want to do is make sure we have a start player added to our level. Let's go ahead and check that we don't have any. So yes, we do not. I think we want to delete this one. Oh, that was correct. So we want to add a player start. And add it to somewhere reasonable, maybe the same place the player was spawned at. And maybe we can even delete our current player and just make that the default way of spawning. So let's do this. Let's delete this one and let's just do this. Yeah, there's a couple of issues I think we need to handle here. We are not going to kill the player. We want to just respawn them or reset their position so they fall into our desired position or the last place they were on land. And I guess we can do this instead of using the player start, or maybe the player start is a good position actually. So yeah, let's keep this here. Let's just bring our character back. So the player start will exist at the same exact position. Maybe just if we set this to 50, it doesn't really matter, just like this. And now whenever we take damage, we want to search for the first player's start position, or if there were many, we can select a random point and respawn ourselves here, maybe offsetted by a couple of meters on the z-axis. I believe we can do this easily. So the first thing we want to do is disable all movement. Movement or disable movement. Yeah, so we want to disable movement first. So this is the first thing they want to do, and then we want to find all actors of class, and we hit just player start, and then we can select a random item and then get actor position and offset this by some value, maybe 200 centimeters, and then set actor location here. So, and then, so we have teleported our character now. Let's delay for just maybe half a second and then enable movement again. So, enable movement with this. I think we disabled something wrong in here. Disable movement, so this was correct. So let's just test this out. So we can move as usual, and if we jump onto the water, we are teleported back and we never fall again, or we cannot move. And that is because we have disabled stuff. So we do not want to do this. We can do stop immediately, I guess, stop movement immediately. Oh yeah, so this sets the movement type to none, which means that we will be just hanging out there. So if we do this and jump, we'll be teleported and fall again. So obviously this is too abrupt. We want to give some sort of delay and maybe some sort of a light animation of the camera, maybe fading out in, like blinking our eye. We can do this actually very easily, I guess. So let's try and implement that right now. So the delay 0.2 seconds, stop movements immediately, and then do that. So I wanted to disable controls so that when the player falls into the water, we want them to sort of drown a little bit, and then when they are teleported back, we want to sort of enable their inputs. So we can do this again, player controller, and here disable input. So what this is doing is basically whenever we take damage, we will disable the input, and then we'll delay a little bit, and after the delay, the movement is stopped immediately, and we are searching for a respawn point, and we are respawning there, and after that time passes, which allows for the player to fall down onto the land, we re-enable movement again. So let's go ahead and test this and see if we like the behavior of our scripts. So as you can see now, we fall and then we teleport, but I guess we are teleporting very fast. So let's give this maybe a second. And let's test again. So we jump, we fall, teleport very slow. Maybe half a second was enough. So I guess there's a lot of testing that you need to do with this sort of things. And I like this, I guess. Yeah. So if we teleport, we cannot move unless we are teleported back. Okay, great. So we know that whenever the players now step into a pain-causing volume, they will be re-teleported to a random to a random player start. But is there a better way though? I think this is a very good function that we can use. And the way we're gonna do this is that we're gonna make it select the nearest player start actor as a respawn point. So we can have multiple ones from the start actor in here. We can have maybe on each corner we'll have a single respawn, a player start. And so the idea, if the player, for example, hits or the water gets into the water from this side, they will be respawned into this position instead of the default one. So I think this is a good way to do this. Let's test this. So the origin would be the current player position. Location. And this should ideally give us the perfect position to respawn. So hopefully this will work. Let us test this out. So, if we fall from the left side, we should respawn exactly at our position, and that was not correct. And so let's test this again. It's respawned us here. I guess we deleted something, right? Yeah. We have deleted the player start in here, so we can add this one back. And, sorry, my PC cannot handle a lot of tasks being done at the same time, recording and stuff. So let's test again. It responds correctly from the side, maybe here from the other side, and voila, it works like a charm. And yeah, just as we wanted. So this marks the end of the first level, I guess. We have our character now moving, collecting coins, and when we collect all the coins, they should travel back to the main menu. If I have set up everything correctly, nothing happens, of course. So the way I implemented this is that I made a sort of transition actor, level transition, and I guess I forgot to add it into here. Yes, it does not exist. So let's add the transition actor into here. This actor's job is just to handle the logic of going into the next level. So the way it works is that our character handles collecting coins and uh, defining the state when they have collected all the coins in the level. So each level will only be completed when all the coins are collected. The number of coins is calculated at the beginning of the session by the player, and the player will then count each coin they collect until they complete this count. This actor then binds to this event on the player character. So when we reach this amount, they will try to travel into the next level. If this one is left empty, they should take us back to the main menu. So let's test this. Okay, collected 6 out of 10. Collected this one, this one, this one, and then fading into the main menu. The main menu takes you back to the first level again, and we have a loop. Of course, there are a couple of things that we want to implement. Maybe you want to do some kind of save level system, so the player kind of save the player progress, and we want to also have a level selection system in the menu, so the player can, for example, play sometime, quit the game, and come later, hit play. A menu will pop up, so they have their progress saved, maybe some tiles highlighted indicating they have been played and won, and so they can choose the next one. And we want to have the unplayed levels visible but locked, so they need to play in sequence. And so the first thing we want to do is create a second level. And for now, let's just duplicate an exact copy of the first level. And in the first level, we want to assign, we want to assign the transition actor to go to level 2. And we can now go to level 2, save selected. And here we'll delete some stuff just to indicate that this is a completely unique level, and we want to delete all the rest of the coins. So we can do this and bring this to the middle. And so when we play now, this should take us to the menu. If we play, we'll start from the first level. If we collect everything, then pardon me, we should go to the second level. Second level, as usual, take us back. So now we have kind of nice loop set up for us to kind of build our systems on top. We can have, like I have some ideas for level design. since we have implemented this pain causing volume and the algorithm for it to respawn the player so seamless. We can create kind of challenging levels where you have, for example, gaps in the platforms that are on top of the water. And so when the player, there's a chance a player can fall, for example, and they need to respawn. And we can also introduce some dynamic obstacles. In the testing level, I have created, I was testing the buttons, these red buttons. So these buttons are fairly simple. The blueprint for them is actually very minimal. Their main job is to wait for an overlap event. And when that happens, it happens once, of course, they will play an animation uh, just to kind of make them sink into the ground and then fire this event dispatcher. The way we are going to use this, for example, in the test level, if you see here, nothing is there beyond this kind of barrier on the side. But if you press the red button, stuff will kind of show up. And this can be done within the blueprint level, the levels blueprint. So we can here respond to that particular button event and fire these animations. So the animations happen in sequence, and they are fairly simple animations. They are just moving the root component of each of those actors just by offsetting them, like for example here on the z-axis 600 centimeters, etc. So this way we can actually do a lot of interactive game design, level design. We can do platforms that spawn, or we can, for example, spawn entire new levels based on a button was pressed or not. I'm not sure if I want to make the buttons need something on top of them to stay pressed. That is, currently the buttons are once pressed, they still or and remain pressed. But we can do sort of timer based buttons. For example, when you press them and leave, they will wait for half a second, for example, and then unpress themselves and reverse all the actions that happened. So we can introduce time factor, I guess, into the game. But that is for now. That would complicate things too much for now. So let's just ignore that. Now let's go to the UI and try and implement a select level UI. So in its most basic sense, it is just, we will not make it procedural. We'll make a static grid view. So we can add a border as the background for it. And we can make it just in the center. And something like this maybe will pop up. This sort of this. Its color would be dark. Maybe not this one. Where's border brush color? Yes. Would be this dark, and we will draw it as a rounded box just to keep all things consistent. We'll switch this to fixed radius, and a value of 20 I guess is more than enough for us. There's a lot of decisions here can be made, but let's just make this very simple. And we might add an outline, a white colored outline, full alpha, and its width is 5. Yeah, this looks nice. And so within this, we'll have a grid view. Grid panel, uniform grid panel is the one we want. We want a pad, like to make space for the borders. Let's add some padding, maybe a value of 10 or even 15 seems nice. And entry or slot padding would be 5 is enough. Desired width maybe 128 by 128. So this is good. Let's now go ahead and create a new widget. It will be a play level tile widget. It should be very simple. I wanted to make it as a dedicated widget because it needs to store some variables, and later on when we implement the save game system, they might need to read data, and based on whether the level was played or not, they can lock, disable, or enable themselves. So level tile, and this is fairly simple. It will be a button. And the button will have text, naming it, and we'll assign this value of 0, and let's label everything. Text, title, makes a variable, button, btn, play, and we want to change the style. So let's, for better viewing this, from here select desired, maybe custom on screen, and Unreal Engine sometimes have this kind of buggy stuff happen. So 128 by 128. This will show us the exact way it will look on our screen. And then let's adjust its style, the normal style. So the color, where's the background color, should be yellow, golden yellow. And the disabled color, we wanna just draw it, draw as box, and its color would be maybe something along this line. So we test this. Can we test this? We cannot. Okay. But anyway. So we have this setup. And now let's implement or add some variables. So what do we want from the level tile? We want a couple of things. The first thing, we wanted to have a reference to a level. And the easiest way to do this is just hit open level by reference and promote this into a variable and keep the default name. And we want a title, and this should be text or integer, or just keep it text maybe. And remember to enable these. And on pre-construct, get the txt title and hit set text and just assign our variable. Make sure this has a default meaningful value. So the second thing we want is to make our button also a variable and respond to on-click event. And whenever it is clicked, let's just hit open level by reference and pass in our variable. And then we want to do the following. On initialize, here we will need to check up some data and make sure that this level is unlocked. And for now, it will be unlocked, but later on we might need to read this from the save game system. So let's close this and go ahead into our main menu and start adding our tiles. So for now we have 2 tiles. Let's search these level tile and start adding them into our grid. They are way too small, and that is because this is not correct. So in the uniform grid, minimum desired slot width, should we multiply this by 2? No. But why is this happening? Okay, let's do another thing. Maybe let's just open this and wrap this with a size box. And the size box width and height 128 by 128. So sometimes you need to do this. Let's just see how it looks. Way better, maybe even bigger than this. Let's give it 200 by 200. How does this look like? Yeah, I think I like this. So this one will be level 1. We can change the text to be a little bit bigger. Maybe the font size can be 64. And yeah. So yeah, that looks good. This will be level 1. And we can duplicate this. Bring this here and assign this value level 2. Tile 2. Tile 1. How does this look like? Okay. The uniform grid, I think there's an issue here. Yeah, we need it to be like this, so it appears more nicely. So we now have 2 levels, and we can actually add more padding around the uniform grid panel. And my PC is just, maybe a value 50 is good, yeah. And slot padding 25, yes. So this is okay. This is okay. Let's go ahead and test this, but we need to go to the main menu. This one, the maps, main menu, hit play. So we have our 2 levels. If we hit level 1, we go to level 1. Let's test again. Hit level 2, we go to level 2, and we go back to level 1. But we do not want this exactly. We know now for sure that our buttons are working, but they are always on, which is something that we do not want. We want this sort of appear whenever play is pressed. So let's create first an animation for this border, so that when play is pressed, we want to play that animation, and the animation will show this border. So let's just anim show levels, and this one will take a reference to the border, and we want to go ahead to the transforms down here and take a value for the scale, and after 0.25 seconds we want to also add a keyframe for the scale. And now for now we are doing literally nothing, but when the animation starts we wanted this to be at value 0 and this to at value 0, and hit add keyframe again. And if you kind of drag this one, it will appear like this. Let's change the pivot point for this one to be 1 by 1. So now the animation will look something like this, which is way better. Or we can make this 0 by 1, so it will look something like this, which I like better. So if we hit play for the animation, it looks smooth. We can also do a couple of things here to make it more interesting. Let's go to the curve editor, but by selecting the scale first. Go to the curve editor, and as you can now see, we have a classic sigmoid scale. We can make this a little bit more interesting by like making it overshoot a little bit on both sides. Something like this on both X and Y axis. So making it overshoot a little bit will make it feel like, best if I show you. So as you can now see, it sort of pops into a place, and I think it looks more animated. So the thing with these kind of animations, though, is that you want to make sure that when you press here on this blank spot, that the animation state is correct. Your controls, your border, have the same state as the initial frame. Oh, pardon me. As the initial frame of the animation. Otherwise, it will sort of kind of reset. It will appear for first on the screen and then reset to the first frame state and then complete, which is something that we do not want. So this is working. So now what will happen is that when we press play, which we can see here, for now it was doing some testing, like it was opening the first level. We do not want this. We want to grab this animation and hit play, animation forward. And then we want to add a way to close it, but let's just go ahead and test. So we have nothing in here. We can press play and it will play the animation, and then we can select our level. Now let's add a way to close the level border, and I want to do this by adding a sort of yeah, we want to add an overlay button, red button, that will indicate closing this. And this can be done simply by going to the border, and within, yeah, we need to overlay this one. So wrap with overlay, and nothing really changed right now, but the uniform still here. On top of this, we want to add a button like into the overlay, and this will be our close button. This button, let's give it some size, so wrap it with size box and set the width and height to maybe a value of 64 by 64. I think is good enough. Yeah, maybe, I don't know, 100. Maybe 100 by 100. Its color, and now the button, go to the button, set the background color to some value, some like unique distinctive color, maybe red. Yeah, and we want to add a text to the button and just type X. And this should be self-explanatory, and here maybe something like this. Yeah, so we got this working, but its position is not exactly good, so we can go to the transforms, and or you can just press, I think this one, the R, and we can now manipulate this as we want. Somewhere like here maybe is good enough, or somewhere like, oh, maybe somewhere like here. Yeah, so this button, name it btn close levels, and this should close the animation. So grab this animation and play reverse. The reason that I am calling exactly these events is that these two functions allow you to reverse from the current frame. So if you are playing forward, that you are showing the animation and then hit reverse, it will not reset the animation, but rather stop the current animation and then reverse it, which is exactly what you want. Otherwise, the other methods like play animation, the normal play animation, this one, these will absolutely start the animation regarding any current animation. So they will stop any current animation, of course, but they will reset the state to this particular like mode. If you hit forward, they will reset to the first frame and play from there. And this kind of is not very good. It has its use cases, but I think these are more useful. So what do we have right now? We have play, we have close, play, close, play, level 1, great. And yeah, can first finish the first level, go on to the second one, and then go to the main menu, hit play. Currently we are not saving nothing, so we can quit. So I guess we have implemented the levels menu. We have implemented transitioning between levels and back to the menu. We have implemented going from the menu to a particular level. We have created a pain causing volume and responded or handled the way players respawn. And the only thing that is left is really creating more levels and saving progress. So before we get into creating more levels, let's go ahead and figure out how to save progress. And the easiest way that I can think of, since we do not want to really code things right now, is to use the Unreal Engine, the blueprint expose functionality. And it is really messy though. So let's, within the blueprint folder, let's create a new one and call it save game. In here, we need a save game object. And I'll call it BP save game levels or defaults. Default, okay. And we want, for this to happen, we want to go and create a game instance that will own the save game object. Game instance. Game instance. Oh. So this will be our owner of the same save game system. And this game instance, we need to set our project to use it. So within the project setting, under, I believe, maps and modes, the game instance class here, let's assign this to the box. And we are almost ready. Let's go ahead into our game instance. And here, let's go grab on init. And on init, we want to get save game. I think save game was it? Yeah. So load save. Does save game exist? First thing we want to do is check if we have a save existing. So we do this. And we want to promote the slot name into a variable slot name, and we'll call this assign, like set its value to something like default. And then if the game exists, then we simply load it. Otherwise, we create a new one. So if it exists, then load game from slot, and we can do this blockingly for now, game slot, and then cast it to our specific class, and then promote this also game, and assign this to our variable. This will be the first thing that ever happens when the game launches. If the save slot does not exist, then we want to create this object. So create save game object, and it will be of our class, and then assign it to our variable, and then we want to immediately save game to slot. Save game to slot. This is the object, and this is the slot. So this will happen only once in the game lifecycle. After this is executed, every time the player returns to the game, this branch will be executed, and the entirety of these will happen before anything else, because the init function happens very early in the game lifecycle. So yes, we have the save game object, and now we want to create some accessors. So let's go ahead and create a blueprint function library and call it BP function library utils. These will create sort of static functions, for example, get gi box. So this will get game instance and cast it, get game instance cast to box return. So since we have set up these, we do not need to really check it and make this a pure function. And then get game save object. What happened? Get game save object, and this will return, we'll get the game instance first, and then save game, and then we'll return that. So all of our data will be stored in this. So now that we have these static functions, let's go ahead and define our save game object. Our save game object will have a map of, or not a map, a set of levels. So a level that was completed, should be added to the save game object. And the way we do this is just by adding it to the set. So what I meant to say is that anything that is within the set, any level that is registered in the set, will be a 1 level. So it should be unlocked by default. So we can 1 or complete more completed levels, and here level world. I think the issue with Unreal Engine is that the word reference is not really exposed in here, but you can get it somehow if you copy it from somewhere else. So we need to copy this, unfortunately. Where, yeah, just here, open level by object reference, promote to variable, Control C, and then Control V, as you can see, and then we can delete this from here. And this is really weird behavior of Unreal Engine. I don't know why they do this. This is a really important variable to have. So levels, and this will be a set. So a set is a data structure that allows you to very fastly check if an item exists or not, and it is always all of its items are unique. So, and this should be assigned a save game as save game, so the game saves it properly. So we have these levels, and for now we don't have anything else to save. So let's go ahead and implement it in the menu and in the gameplay itself. So in the menus, since we have a dedicated tile for each level, we can actually do this very easily. Since I said that on initialize, we want to get the get game save object, and then we need to access levels, and then hit contains item. And if it contains our level, then we need to set enabled. Set is enabled only if it contains the item. Otherwise, it will not be enabled. Of course, yeah. So, yeah. Now, if we hit test again, play, both of these are disabled. So the player has no means to even play the game. And maybe we have some kind of error in our logic. So actually, we might not need this. Yeah, so the way we want to do this is fairly simple. We can do this way, but we'll have the first level added by default. So here, level 1 will be present by default. This will make the level 1 unlocked by default. And the mechanic will be like this. Whenever a player finishes a level, the transition to actor will register the next level as added to the save game object. So the next time the player plays, their progress will be saved. So this will be so we are saving the unlocked levels, not the completed levels. So we play, we finish this, and then this should be unlocked. And to do this, we can do this quite easily, I believe. If we go to the transitions actor, which I saved, yeah, this one. So if we have a valid level, so before we transition into the next level, we want to grab the save game object, maybe do this in a sequence. Get save game object, get levels, and then add item. Add item, and this should be our next level. So this way, what is happening here is that when the player finishes collecting all the coins, we want to start fading the camera. And then if we have a valid level, a valid next level, then we want to first unlock it in the save game system so our progress is saved. And then we want to open the next level. This way, whenever the player exits, they will have this object ready and going. So we can do another thing here. Currently, we are not saving our game. So in the game instance, on shutdown, we need to do that. We can override shutdown, save game object. We can copy basically this code. And duplicate it back into here. And we have this save game object. And we are almost ready. So let's go ahead and test this. So we are starting here. We hit play. We have only one level. We hit play again. So we are now within the first level. We'll complete this level. Let's go ahead, complete it. We can jump. Completed this, and then we are transitioning to the second level. The second level should now be unlocked. So let's complete this. It should return back to menu. Hopefully it worked, and both of them are unlocked. Let's now quit the game and hit play again. And now if we play, we should have both levels unlocked, which is exactly what happened. So we now have progress being recorded correctly. We have transitions between, like, ordered sequential transition between levels. And we have a menu kind of functioning, small little menu. One thing we might want to add is exiting. Currently, we cannot exit the level unless we finish it. So we might want to add an in-game menu with two buttons, resume and exit. And we can do this very easily, I guess. So let's go ahead and implement that. And we want to assign it to a input action to maybe pressing the escape button on the release game, but within the editor we want a debug key so we can open it anyway. So let's go ahead to the blueprints UI. Want to duplicate the main menu, and we want to call it in-game menu. In-game menu. So this one will have the exactly two buttons like this, but we want to delete the animations, and we want to also keep the same logic. We want to delete this one too, and the entire border, and we want to center these by just alignment to 0.5. Want to also blur the background, so let's search for blur and add this to the canvas and make this fill everything. And the blur value should be maybe 5, maybe 8. Yeah, this will blur everything, and we now have the text should be resume and exit. Button names also we should change, exit and resume. So what happens here is that we want to do the following. When this menu is constructed, we want to pause the game. Set game paused to true. And we want to show the mouse cursor. And when quit or exit is clicked, we want to open the main menu, open level bar reference, and let's get the main menu. So we have these correctly implemented, and we want to, on resume pressed, we want to basically reverse these and destruct the menu. So hide the cursor, unpause the game, and just remove from parent. So this way we should have a functioning, although unanimated, in-game menu. We want a way to spawn this menu though, so within our player ideally, let's go ahead and add a new input action. Input action in-game menu, and add it to the mapping context. And the default value of it would be escape. But in the editor, hitting escape will actually exit the session. So we can add a new one, which will be only for debugging purposes, which is a star for me. But you can assign to any value you want. The player, and search for our new action in-game menu. And so whenever the event is started, we want to create widget, and it should be the in-game menu, and add it to the viewport. Add to viewport, and indeed press this kind of expand button and make sure you assign this to a really high value so it always appears on top of anything else. So let's go ahead and test this. Hit play, first level, and if I hit star, the new menu will appear. Resume and exit to the menu, play again, level 2, star, resume, we are done. Okay, so it works fine. And yeah, so we got our in-game menu ready, our menu ready. What do we want to do next? Well, we can finally start doing level design, but this will be in the next stream, hopefully. And until next time, please let me know how can I improve these streams. And if you want to see a particular idea done in this game or some concepts explained, let me know. It will be of I'll try my best to do that. And until next time, take care.